Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hey guys, welcome back to What the Phuc episode. What is it?
We are at episode 55, man.
55. Okay, so it's February 17th, 2023. So wow, it's been a long time. We've been doing
It
this for
has
like a
been.
year and a half, you think?
About. Yeah. No, it's been a lot of stuff has happened. Like I feel like throughout the 55 episodes, from the intro and to get to know us kind of stuff to where we are right now, it's been quite the ride. For the ones that are still around. It's been
Yeah,
ups
I
and
think the
downs
one
on
person
every.
who's still around, thank you for saying, or maybe not thank you, because you might be my enemy like we talked about last time. You might be
He's just
following me on
spying on
spying on my doings. But hopefully, we can become friends. I'd love to be friends with
someday.
whoever. Yeah, one day.
Write to us.
So anyway, I have some updates.
Ooh,
So it's
updates.
been a year and a half of podcasting about this journey, and at the beginning, I was such a badass. I was going to fundraise so quickly, and we're going to kick ass. And it was going to be a rocket ship. It was going to be like the beginning of a big journey, and boom, a year and a half later, we have no money in the bank in terms of the big money, the big fish. Right? We've raised money along the way. We've gone to an incubator in terms of PHUCLABS. PHUCLABS, the company I've been trying to work on.
Yeah.
And basically, we finally got to the end where we had three investors left. That if
Yeah.
we didn't get a yes from one of them, then we basically would have to close down, right? Just shut down. And probably I'd probably continue doing it myself with a smaller team or maybe no team at all. But we don't have the money to sustain it the way we currently have it right now. But we have about 8 employees. They're all full time. They're working on this really hard, and we have a great plan, and we have a product that's ready to go, and a team ready to go. It's like basically saying I have a movie ready to make. I have the script. I've got the actors. They've already signed on. They're currently working on it. I've got the producers. I've got the director. I've got the cinematographer. I've got the photographer. I've got everything, and I got the script writer. But we just need the cash, and it's been a hard time because the economy has been really bad. The stock market went down 30% in 2022. So it's rebounded a little bit since then. But crypto crashed. All these investors that used to have money, they don't have money anymore. And so now they're more cautious about investing in startups like us. So the summary was we got caught in that tailwind of turmoil, as well as some of our own mistakes, as well as not understanding how to make money, how to create value for the investors. And we got feedback along the way. And we also had some hard journeys internally with our staff. And then finally, of the three, one of them said no. Okay. And the other two were thinking about it.
Something
And then I
happened.
think, how did you leave it last week, Roberto? How did I give the update last week? I forgot. It's been such a whirlwind. Okay. I'm not sure Roberto's on anymore. But anyway, the idea is I think Roberto got knocked off. It's okay. I'll keep talking. So I'll tell you the story. So last week, we had a decision that was going to be made on Monday this week that we were anticipating by the number one investor that we wanted to work with. This is a venture capitalist who we've been talking to for the last year and a half, and they really like us. And they went to the lab, visited a couple of times, did a bunch of evaluations on us, and then they had to do a vote on Monday whether to continue and do what's called due diligence, where we could finally go and double check everything about us, our backgrounds, the financial situation, the customers that we claim we have, make sure they're real, make sure our technology is real. And essentially, it's the last step before they actually cut a check. And so that's their process. They have a process, it's a very set process, and they voted and they said yes. So this is the update for this week. They actually said yes. And this is big because this was our number one choice. And they basically voted on Monday to say yes. So the VC, the one that's number one for us, who've been working on for a long time, they said yes. And because they said yes on Monday to continue, we have 1 month where they're going to go talk to us and do what's called due diligence, where they look at the books again. We look at us, our backgrounds, and after that, they'll cut a check. They'll basically give us a term sheet and cut a check in a month or so. So in a month, they're going to vote. And when they say yes, it will take a couple of weeks after that to get the money. but we're basically 6 weeks, 9 to 8 weeks away from getting money from this VC. Now, because of that, yeah. So they basically said yes. They voted, right?
Yay,
and so
finally.
At this stage, I would say it's about 85%. 85% they continue. The 15% is only if they want to abort for some reason.
They would they? I feel like if they already say yes to you, that'd be like a lack of professionalism, right?
Well, you ever hear about a Runaway Bride? You see
Yeah,
that movie?
No, I get that.
So
Like,
Runaway
it does
Bride was like,
happen.
this happens, you get engaged, or hey, let's go steady, and then you break up.
Yeah. But I mean, like, these are supposed to be professionals. I mean, like, it's their job, and they already like assessed everything, and they're like, yes, yeah, for sure, let's do it. So they assume that on your end, stuff is moving.
No. They said let's do it, meaning let's go steady. Let's do diligence, meaning let's go look deeper into our relationship and see if we should get married. So let's sit down and dot the I's and cross the T's. Make sure I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and then you're saying what you're saying is true.
Okay.
So that's basically it's like saying I want to go to Thanksgiving at your parents' house, and then visit your family and kind of like spend some time with you. Yeah, I want to maybe go on vacation with you once, but let's go steady for like a year. Let's get engaged. Right?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
With the intent to get married, obviously, but that doesn't mean I'm married to you. I don't have to legally do it, right?
No, that's true. Like, I can see.
You might be able to keep the ring, maybe. Yeah, keep the ring.
And then we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes, but I think it's going to work out because we have a lot of people say no to us along the way, like hundreds. The best VCs on the planet met with us, looked us in the eye, and said, "You don't have a good idea. Not enough for us to give you a check." They didn't say it that way. They were very nice about it. Like, hey, keep us in contact, blah, 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 update, blah, blah, blah. Some of them were more blunt, but most of them were basically, it's hard to say no to someone when they're trying to chase their dreams. So they say nicely in a way, you're too early, you're too young for me, I can't date you.
Yeah.
I only
what was the worst no you got?
Or something like that. What's that?
What was the worst no you got? Like the one that actually hurt? I was like, man.
I would say basically the people who are kind of ignorant, they say, "Oh, this has been done before. There's nothing to do about this." It's basically a stupid idea that has no
you didn't understand anything. Yeah,
scientifically, when they go after the science, I'm like, okay, I understand the business reasons, but when you say this device is nothing new, it's nothing special, it's already been done before, I was like, what planet am I living on? If this is done before, then this would have solved humanity's issues. Because I look in front of me, when I saw it happen, I was like, holy crap, this is like magic. I still remember that moment when I turned the machine on for the first time, and I'm like, this is either going to work or not work. And if it's not going to work, I'm going to have to spend the whole day here. If it's going to work, it's going to work right away.
Okay.
And it worked right away. And then it happened the second time, and then the third time. And I'm like, okay, this is real. This is not my imagination, because you have to realize you have to go from one universe where fire existed and another universe where fire didn't exist. Or like one universe where the computer existed, and before that, the computer didn't exist, right? I actually lived in that time when there was no computers, there was no iPhone, and I can have the same amazement of this device. I'm like, holy shit, this is at the iPhone level, but better. Because the iPhone obviously helped humanity a lot, right? But this is going to save the planet, right? And create a green future.
Yeah, definitely.
And allow us to basically recycle everything in the universe, period. Right?
Like, it allows us to be sustainable, which is crazy, because we're not. Right now, we're not. We're just like consuming everything.
Well, it's basically the third force of nature, too. It's like scientifically, I'm like, there's a third force of nature. It's called information. Here's some theories behind that. And they're saying, oh, hogwash. Whatever you're saying is bullshit. There's only two forces of nature. They don't say that, but they basically think that, right? And so I have to basically, I like to fight when I'm right. So people, when they say I'm wrong, that's fine. But when I know I'm right, watch out.
Yeah, no, like,
but anyway,
I'll
prove you wrong. Yeah, so that's why I'm tenacious. That's why we didn't lose. Seriously, like, we should have quit like 15 times. And in fact, today, right, I actually got the paperwork for selling the shares of my last company.
Okay, cool.
So like I said, I became a millionaire last year, and I got another $1 million this year. So I have $2 million that I cashed out already. So it was not an accident, right? But I'm signing the paperwork, and I'm going to help the company. if I need to, small amount to basically get through the fundraising process, because I feel confident we can get through the fundraising process if we need to. But we don't need to, because I think we have some other investors. Now that the big fish, they
Already
bite.
said yes, yeah.
So this is what's called FOMO, fear of missing out. So
Do
you
they
ask
have that?
the really pretty girl, the best looking girl in your high school to go to the prom with you, and then she goes to the prom with you, right? Now you may not be dating, but next year when you come back in the fall, or maybe that summer, right? All the other girls will be like, "Hey, he went to the prom with this really hot looking girl."
Yeah.
And so I think there's some movies made by that where people like would pay good looking girls to go on like dates with them, and then somehow they fell in love. It's like those teen
Of course, there's definitely a movie like
romantic
that.
comedies.
Yes. And
It's
then
kind
you
of
have
like
all the
that.
other girls, yeah, yeah. And then they found out they got scammed and everything. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, right? And then the girl felt like really bad, and it's like, well, like maybe I should date you for real, and then they date. I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
silly,
They're like everybody always end up, and they always get the girl, like the nerdy kid that is like has good feelings.
right? Like Pretty Woman, like you pay a girl
Not
to
pretty.
basically, like, yeah, but it's always the girl who gets paid somehow, and then they get taken advantage of, and then somehow it's okay in the end.
Yeah, well, those movies from the 90s, right?
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's Hollywood back then. But
Yeah.
things are opposite extreme today. I think it's a very, very extreme today. So like, there's a lot of stuff that's very, very out there. But like, hey, look, that's evolution. People have
It
different
is.
desires. People have different things that they want. But I would say the whole like fat's okay. I don't agree with that. I think you have to be fit. You have to keep your body clean. You have to basically stay
Of course.
healthy, because it's not about how good you look.
It's
It
not how healthy
is
you
to some
are.
degree, but it's about how long you live and how healthy you are during that life, and what kind of burden you have on your parents and on your coworkers and on society and your kids to take care of you, because you're going to have diabetes, you're going to have heart
Yes.
conditions, you're going to have all these things because you're overweight. And the only reason the only reason why you're overweight is because society told you to eat 3 times a day. Society somehow brainwashed everybody to eat 3 times a day. When, if you think about us as humans, even 100 years ago, we ate once a day, right? Like, because we didn't have enough food. Like, we went and hunted, and were hunter gatherers. Then we were farmers. But even as farmers, like, there was famine, dude. People died in China,
And the
and they
food
currently die
availability
in North
wasn't
Korea
like
today.
at no point in time have we ever had so much food available at all times like right now. So it's crazy.
Yes, and the anti-aging stuff I'm taking is only one part of why I look so great, but because I only eat one meal a day if I can, and maybe lunch. But ultimately, your body is a machine, and we've talked about this before. And one thing that actually came out recently is, I'll get back to the updates, but something that I think I want to talk about is basically your DNA. So David Sinclair is a genius. He's been working on anti-aging. That's the regimen I've been taking. But he published a new paper that's very interesting. Basically what it says is, before, people would think, that I used to think, and all people thought, that your DNA degraded over time.
Okay.
That's actually not the fact at all. What happens is your epigenome malfunctions over time, but your DNA actually stays the same over time. So here's what your epigenome is, right? Your epigenome is basically the expression of the DNA that you have available to you. So
Okay.
imagine your DNA is all the files that you have on your computer that you can possibly open. And then your epigenome is all the files that are currently open, right? The apps that are open on your phone currently, right? So let's say there's an app for like, I don't know, your I don't know, something that has to do with your hair, right?
Yeah.
So that part of it, if it gets damaged, it will damage that part of it up there that's currently open. But the underlying file they've recently found hasn't changed.
Okay.
So
there's like a record of
basically your
what-
DNA, the underlying file didn't change. It's
Yeah.
actually the original file is actually intact and correct. So your epigenome is the one that actually gets reproduced and all that stuff. And basically what happens is it basically is wrong once you open it and you run it. and you can correct it as well, and you can express more of it or less of it. So basically, you can close files and open files, and that's what happens during aging. So what happens is when you age, right, the epigenome gets damaged, right? Those files get damaged, but there's a program that corrects it, right? And the program that corrects it, the epigenome, that program that corrects it doesn't correct it perfectly every time. And it makes mistakes. And over time you age because all the files that are open, they start getting corrupt. Okay. Yeah, that's basically your DNA degrading, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens, right? Now, the good news, now think about this. If your files get corrupted on a computer, what if you had a clean backup?
Exactly. You just uninstall and reinstall, and that's it.
Correct. So that's the insight that's new. I didn't know there was a clean backup. But your DNA doesn't change. Your epigenome changes. Okay, how did he know this? How do they know this? So what they did is they take two twin mice. Okay? And they have two ways to measure their DNA. They can measure the DNA that's underlying, and they can measure the current epigenome that's expressed. Does that make sense? So they can measure both. They can measure your backup, which is your original DNA, right?
Yep.
And they can measure the file that's open, which is your epigenome. And then they took the mouse, one of the mice, like the two twin mice, with the same backup file, basically, the same DNA, and the same epigenome at the beginning, so they were the same. And then they degraded the epigenome of one mouse the way they thought that aging would degrade the epigenome. And in fact, the mouse looked older and aged exactly the way they thought.
Okay.
Then they measured the underlying DNA and the underlying epigenome, right? And they saw that the epigenome did degrade, but the DNA was exactly the same.
That's crazy, though. Like, man, all these years.
So what that means is, no matter how old you are, okay, you can go back in time to your original self.
Like, you're gonna reset yourself like that? Yeah.
So no matter how bad your epigenome, you can actually create yourself again with your original DNA from your backup. Now, so what this means is your epigenome, you can change your epigenome and fix it, right? And correct it. Just like you took that mouse and you made it older by making it damaged in the same way that epigenome would be damaged, you can do the opposite. Right? You can repair it. Okay, now how you repair it? Okay, it's quite simple. Okay, you need a delivery mechanism. So this is the future, guys. The delivery mechanism would be something that's like a virus, right? Or some type of thing that lives in your body for a certain amount of time, but doesn't live longer than a certain amount, or maybe it just lives long enough to disseminate what you need, and then it basically doesn't reproduce anymore, right? Does that make sense? I don't know how you're going to do it, but you need to have some type of deployment, like almost like a UPS driver. Okay. So your UPS driver has to be something that's already naturally in your body, right? So why reinvent the wheel when you have things that naturally infect your body and spread throughout your body? So they'll find some type of pathogen, some type of virus, some type of bacteria, whatever it is, and they'll infect you. But that would then carry with it the ability to basically rewrite your epigenome, right? So there's certain things. They found that actually there's certain bacteria, there's certain processes already that actually, that's where CRISPR comes from, that actually kind of can help you, can rearrange the epigenome and move it around, kind of like construction, right? A construction company moving A to B and all that stuff. I don't know the exact details, but there's already technology to do that. So what happens is through that delivery mechanism, they can then repair your epigenome, and it will take 1 year because that virus might stay there, that whole process might take a year for it to continue working, but it'll work a little bit every day to repair your epigenome, and every day it'll get younger and more fit and more back to the original shape of where you want to be. And over the course of a year, you can go from 60 to let's say 50.
That's amazing. And even I feel like just stopping the aging would be great, but on top of that, reverting it.
Yes, no, that's gonna happen. I'm serious. Like within the next 5-10 years, they'll actually have probably trials, and then in 15-20 years, it'll be approved. I'm serious.
Yeah.
And so every year, every 10 years, you're gonna go and have a meal. You're gonna have a meal somewhere, or you can go to a hospital setting or some type of setting where they're gonna inject you, or you're gonna eat this or be infected somehow, right? It'll be
Yeah.
customized for your body, and then you're gonna grow 10 years younger, and then you do that for that year, and then the 9 other years you don't do anything if you want, and you go back every 10 years, right? And then you could basically make it something that like you grow 10 years and go back, 10 years and go back, 10 years and go back. You basically go from 30 to 40, or maybe you do a 5-year cycle, whatever cycle you agree with.
Yeah. Depends on how far back you want to go back.
Yes, and you could also say, I want to do this once a year because I'm 60. I'm going to do this once a year until I become 20 again.
Shit, imagine that.
People can people can then choose what range they want to be in, right?
Yeah. The 20s,
And then maybe ways to permanently lock in your age,
body.
right? Because it's the same process where you say, okay, how do I repair it? And then, stop, and then repair it, stop. And you might have some type of like slow release thing.
Okay.
That repairs it and then stops, then repairs it and stops on its own, or repairs it at such a rate where you really don't age. You're like it'll exactly calibrate to 1 year, and it'll repair yourself just 1 year every year.
What kind of strain do you think it puts on your body though? Like, would it do anything? Like,
No.
I mean, it has to get its energy from somewhere, no? No?
You have to think about this as information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to think about it as you have a stem cell.
Okay.
And the stem cell is something you started out being. You started out being an embryo, literally, right?
Yeah.
In the embryo, you are information, and that information contains the keys to express itself in the universe. Okay, so you can think about DNA as a computer program. You got 4 letters possibly you can use. So unlike computers here, where you have 0 and 1, which is binary,
Yeah.
everything in here is 0 and 1 because that's what we coded with. But the universe has decided that base 4 is actually better. A, T, G, the different symbols, right, for DNA, right? Mm-hmm. And so A, T, G, C, whatever it is, right?
Protein. Yeah,
so basically, the idea is those 4 are the underlying kind of computer language for all this stuff, right? And then what happens? Those 4 things can create amino acids. I believe there's about 20 of them, right? And then those amino acids then connect to each other like a chain.
Yeah.
Okay. And the chain, think of it almost like a rope. Okay. Now, when you have a rope suspended in air, in water, the rope's going to kind of fly around. It's going to fly around. And then some parts of the rope are magnetic, right? You ever see the toys that the kids have that's like magnetic Legos? Mm-hmm. Right. When 2 certain things get close together, they'll get stuck. Okay. Now, certain ropes will connect more likely in a circle. Some ropes will be more likely to connect in a shape of an S. Some ropes are super long and they can have really, really, really weird shapes and actually combine and become more like a sphere.
Yeah.
Right. And those are essentially proteins. Okay, proteins. So proteins essentially are the machines in your body that do work. And the proteins are created by information. Okay? The information in your DNA, something actually creates these amino acids, and that's the whole process that creates it. Yeah. It's like a 3D printer. It's a 3D printer, and it's only printing 20 things. It's printing 20 things, the amino acids, right? And the DNA will tell you in what order, right? So the 20 things, let's think of it as alphabets. As you have 26 letters in the Roman alphabet. You have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Each amino acid is like a letter, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And the amino acids together combine to spell a word. Like insulin, let's say. Mm-hmm. Or a word that says, I don't know, some compound. But the idea is that's literally how proteins are created. And then and you can imagine from there, other things are created because those proteins, they're the machines that interact and create other stuff. Your cell essentially is created from that eventually, right? So all this stuff is the machine of the body literally starts from information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it would be amazing if you actually revert to this and like just. I feel that everything like towards longevity is always a plus, and like I work out a lot and everything, and sometimes you get hurt and you feel like shit for like, and so you learn to appreciate health and being in good shape and everything, and being able to revert back to a position where you were like, I don't know, your knees weren't bad, or your shoulder wasn't popping all the time, or it would change a lot of things.
So for personally, I had a bad ankle because my son, he jumped on it, right, and it went the wrong way.
Oh, yes.
And I had to get surgery on it.
Oh, surgery.
Yeah, to get rid of some of the pain, because when I was going down the stairs, I would kind of have to like limp down the stairs. Right? And when I walk, I would feel the pain. Now, since I did this regiment, I can walk down the stairs no problem right now. I don't even feel the pain. I don't even notice it.
That's awesome.
It's like a mental thing now, because I'm able to basically be more flexible. Not only can I touch the ground with my hands this way, right? Normally with your tips of your fingers,
like your hamstrings and everything.
But not only can I touch with my fist,
your knuckles,
right? Yeah, my knuckles, but I can touch with my palm.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
I can touch the ground with my palm, and I can hold it for like 15, 20 seconds as long as I want, right? It kind of hurts. But then if I want to, I can hold it longer, right? And I can definitely do a lot of things I didn't used to be able to do even as a child.
Okay.
So when I was a wrestler, I couldn't touch it with my palms. I could touch it with my knuckles, but not with my palms. I'm more flexible now than I when I was a wrestler. So if I wrestle myself right now, I probably have a good chance of doing well, right? And like my tennis game is amazing. Like I'm hitting really well with tennis, and I bet if I start playing golf again, I'll be really good like I used to be. But I think I de-aged.
Of course, we've been taking the stuff,
show, right?
Yeah, we can see like the beginning and after.
Have you been using it? Have you been using the stuff I told you?
I got some of it, but other things I just couldn't find. Like the M&M.
Well, the main thing is if you use it, my wife has been using it, and like you're saying that the pain, my mom has been using it too. And I said from 1 to 10, how much was your arthritis pain in her knee? Because your college degrades, like you were saying,
exactly.
And you have all these like ailments. And she said like 7 out of 10 pain.
Damn.
And now what pain is it right now after all this? She's like a 3.
That's right. It's kind of like those life-changing things, huh?
But it went down. I mean, it was always going up. It never went down, and then it started going down. And she looks amazing, and her gray hair went away a lot. Like she's like half gray now, not fully gray, and she was becoming fully gray. And then my gray hair, I was starting to get gray, but I don't have gray hair at all. Like very little. I have some, and I feel energetic, and I think it really works, right? So I'm telling you, this is not just voodoo. This is something that people have been saying for a long time. There's a fountain of youth. Apparently, those people live hundreds of years, according to the Bible, right? And also the monks and all these people live thousands of years, hundreds of years, supposedly. And so, look, there's jellyfish. Jellyfish live infinity. They don't die.
Yeah. They just like reset themselves as well. Like we're good here.
So science, which I believe in, right? Obviously, it tells us that information is the key to the universe. That if you have the right program, your program doesn't need to degrade. But we have a program where we degrade, but maybe that's actually built into the programming. Where depending on the era that you're in, you have an evolution where people die 100 years, or 50 years, or 20 years. And then depending if you actually evolve, you can live longer. 50 years becomes 80 years, becomes 100 years today, right? Something like that. And then later on with all these drugs and all these things, it becomes 150 years, and maybe 300 years, then 500 years, and then maybe you don't even die until there's an accident or something like that. There's nothing stopping that maximum from being as long as you want to live. And probably people want to live a couple thousand years, maybe more, depends how happy they are. But after that, they may just want to pass on and move to the next level of ascension. Right? Or maybe during that process, they change their bodies and they ascend that way. Okay? Because when you reincarnate into a new body. So that's one way you can actually move on and ascend, right? So when you die, let's say you're like a holy person or Jesus or someone like that, you ascend to the next plane of existence. You might be a light body. You might be a universe itself. You might be a sun. You might be a planet. I have no idea what happens next. I'm guessing that your soul continues and you remember and you don't forget this lifetime where you've ascended. That's my working theory. My working theory is this. Let's say you have like Groundhog's Day, right? Groundhog's Day.
Yeah. You're just repeating on the cycle.
You say, okay, if I'm going to become immortal, I can only have one memory of the first year of me being immortal. Me learning to become an immortal. So let's say you have to remember you being a child, to the moment you became an immortal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So you like remember like the journey kind of situation?
Right. And you can relive that journey over and over again until you have the perfect journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, you can play Dungeons and Dragons. This is what I used to do. You play Dungeons and Dragons, and you roll the dice, and you become different characters. You become like the knight, right? And you become the paladin, and you become the mage, and then you live all these characters, and then you start to have favorites, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I like to have this mage because I like this mage character. I like this because I want to play that mage character moving forward.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 No, it does. When you have the choice, though.
So that's your body. You're gonna be the mage body. You're gonna be the mage personality, and this is the mage's background, all the stuff. So imagine that your life is like a video game or Dungeons and Dragons game, whatever you want, Groundhog's Day, whatever analogy you want to make it. And you live and you live and you die, but one of the very last one is you don't die. Right? You become an immortal. I don't know whatever you want to say immortal is. You just say you become immortal because of science, because you become a god, or you learn magic, whatever it is, right? Whatever reason you become immortal.
Yeah, lots of ways.
Wouldn't you want that last lifetime to be the best one that you remember?
Like the one you're currently living or the one you moved on from?
The one that you're currently living.
Yeah.
The process of ascension is to choose that life to be the life you want to move on with as your memory.
Okay.
So that's the perfect life. You understand? So
yeah,
when Jesus died, and Jesus lived, and he died, he's like, would you like to be reincarnated? He's like, no. He's like, why not? I lived the perfect life.
Yeah, like I'm good.
I've accomplished that. Like, did you do anything wrong? No. Did you do anything you want? Yeah. Did you inspire people? Yep. Would you go to heaven? Yes. Do you want to stay? I don't think I have anything to learn here. So
That's
then,
crazy.
okay.
Yeah.
So then you move on. But then Jesus remembers what? Jesus remembers the life that he led on earth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it does. Like it keeps you focused and it helps you understand where you're at and how you got there is a big part of it.
Right. So let's say Jesus wasn't Jesus in the lifetime before Jesus. Let's say there was this reincarnation, or not even Jesus. Let's say Buddha.
Okay.
Right? So I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Let's say Buddha, right? Before he ascended, he was actually he started out as a frog, then he became a rabbit, then became a wolf, then he became a human, then he became a better human, and then he became Buddha. Right? During all those lifetimes, he's not going to remember being a rabbit. He's not going to pick that as his memory. He's going to pick the last life that led him to ascend as the memory he carries forward with him, but he doesn't forget anymore.
Because I feel like it's like the last checkpoint. I mean, like this is the furthest I've gotten, so this is where I want to like remember stuff. Because if you save like in a video game at the beginning, like it doesn't really matter if you reset or not. Like there's nothing there. But when you've gotten far enough.
It's actually a little bit different, I would think. I've been thinking about this a lot, right?
Okay.
Let's say you have a game. In other words, there are many ways to skin a cat. You can live a perfect life many ways. You can be like Mother Teresa and become poor and live with basically the poor children of India and help them that way. Okay?
Yes.
You can be a warrior who goes and frees Ireland of snakes, supposedly. St. Patrick's, right? You can be a mage or a sage that did something amazing to help, fight off some bad guys. There are many paths to ascension. And that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Whatever your path is, that last life, if you end that life saying, how did you live your life? Did you regret anything? Did you do well? Was it 100%? And when it's 100%, that's when you ascend. And that's what you try to work towards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, because it kind of like, I grew up here, like in Ecuador when I went to school. It's called the Colegio Intisana, and they're basically run by the Opus Dei. I don't know if you heard of them. And, well, it's basically like the right hand of the church, and part of their belief system is that anybody can become a saint. like within like the Catholic structure, right? Anybody can become a saint if whatever you do it like fully and properly and at your best, basically. Like you don't have to be like, you know, like I used to watch like all the movies in like the Holy Week. You get like Ben Hur, you get Samson, you get all these movies. And the way they explained it is that you don't have to go and sacrifice yourself and live with people that have, I don't know, like leprosy, or donate all the stuff you have. Like if you're a plumber and you're an amazing plumber and you go and do your job, you don't screw anybody, you just like do your job the best you can, be a good person, you can become a saint. You don't have to go and do all the crazy things that you read like in the Bible, or like back in medieval times where they're like, oh, he gave all his food and all his wealth to the poor, or he fed all the animals in the region. It's like whatever you do, just do it properly. And I feel like it resonates like a lot with this aspect of it. Like what you're doing is your path. Like you can do this, and this is the way you can ascend. And I always thought that was kind of interesting. Like versus the other concept of just full on you're sacrificing your life.
Yeah. So this is something called the game of life.
Yeah.
So the game of life is a computer concept where the rules are the same. The rules of life is the same, but the beginning environment and the setting is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can result in different results. So just because you were dealt that hand, that doesn't mean that you have to actually go to and try to play someone else's hand. Right? You don't have to go and become like Jesus or become like Buddha or Mother Teresa. You can be who you want to be, but as long as you die or at night when you go to sleep and say, did I live a good life? Did I do anything wrong?
Yes.
Would I improve it in any other way? At the end of that life, you can also have redemption within that life.
Yeah.
Because the perfect life is, okay, my perfect life is I made some mistakes and then I corrected it and I got better. Right? Is the perfect life where I woke up and I did nothing wrong my entire life and I had no absolution. I didn't improve in any way during this lifetime. The perfect life is I started out like level 9.5 or 9.1 or like even 1 or 0. And somehow I clawed my way to, at the end, I was level 10 and I was very happy. And every night I slept really well and I felt good about my heart and my soul. And I had no guilt and I did everything I wanted to do and I'm ready to go on to the next part.
Exactly.
What's more exciting?
You improved.
Right? Yeah. So going back, right, to the whole fundraising.
Yes.
So that's what you have to say. Say, look, life is short. Like I'm in this moment where I'm about to lose everything, where the company goes out of business, where all the hard work goes away, but I'm in this moment and I have this chance. What's the perspective? The perspective is, holy crap, I'm the hero of my own story, and something exciting is about to happen. Either good or bad is going to happen. But the fact is, the worst that happens is I get a job. The worst that happens is I'm personally wealthy because I took risks in my past life and now I can take these risks, right? And I can help others. And I sleep well at night, even if I'm trying to make it big and I may not make it big. I have a plan and I'm basically reaping what I've sown. I deserve it, basically. So if you don't think you deserve it, in other words, if you don't think you deserve to go to heaven, if you don't deserve to be a billionaire or to be a millionaire or to be whatever famous or whatever you want to be, to be fit. If you don't think you deserve to be fit, then you're probably not going to pay attention to the diet or whatever the regimen or take the pills or whatever. You basically have an excuse of why it's not going to work, and then you stop trying. Or you quit, right? Which is natural when things go badly. So in the end, we basically want to make sure that you keep perspective where you came from. Don't forget where you came from, right? I came from freaking nothing. So for me, like having a meal, having a house, that's what I'm going to do with the money, right? I'm going to pay off my house. I'm going to live a nice lifestyle because I've earned it, right? Yeah. But what's next? What's next is can I do more, right? And what can I do here? The thing is, I didn't get here by accident. Okay? I got here because I said, as a little kid, I'm going to become rich. When I become rich, I'm going to do this, this, and this. This is the beginning of my journey. And I said the other day, I said, look, God, the universe, whoever you are, if you give me funding, these are the things I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do with this money and how I'm going to make it worth the time for the universe to invest in me. I hope you convince these people to say yes. And then I do the same thing with those people. I'm like, look, this is the future I want. If you guys may be part of it, great. And then eventually you find somebody who believes in that future, and then you work with them to build that future. It's that simple. But it's actually also very hard. Because to find that person, to find that group, you have to prove yourself. And what people fail to forget is you're not perfect. You could be wrong. Maybe they said no because of this. Get that out of the way. Because of this, get out of the way. So one of the things that, the second investor, right? He basically said, he called me and he said, look, he texted me and he called me. He said, look, I can't invest right now because I don't believe in the technology can work a full day without getting, clogged. Yeah. So we basically created an action plan. I sent it to him and he looked at it. He's like, this is great. I also told him the good news about the other, VC, and he's like, that's even better. And I said, here's my action plan. I'm gonna promise you these things to prove that we have the capability and you have the wrong impression, which he is, right?
Yeah.
And here's what my team can do. And in 2-3 weeks, we're gonna do these things. And he's like, wow, that's impressive because I asked, for him to basically prove himself, and he made a plan. And not only did he make a plan, but it's gonna be a very good plan that is very quick to do, and it seems to check all my marks. And I confirmed with him, that if I did this plan, he would invest, and he said yes. Right, as much as he could, right?
Yeah, because you're putting in the work. I mean,
sure. And the other investor also saying, "Hey, I want to invest too." It makes him feel like he's not dumb, that he's not like, "Okay,
he's being validated,
investing when nobody else wants to invest."
Yeah.
So there's safety in numbers, but also the other investor actually brings value, and together they can also bring value, combined, right? As well as some other investors I have lined up. So the third investor, the one that basically said no to me, right? He's the one who helped me get the $1 million. Because he basically was going to buy some shares, 150,000 of shares, and it turned out that the other people wanted to buy my shares, so that's why I was able to sell a second time. Like, usually that doesn't happen; it happens once, not twice. But because he opened the door, it worked out, and now he's impressed. Because he's like, "Well, this guy, he's not a chump. It wasn't me just buying it for 150 from this guy as a favor. Holy shit, he's going to sell $1 million to other people too, because this is actually really valuable." And the reason why he's selling that because he wants the money right now, but it's actually not a good deal for him. This is actually worth way more. It's such a good deal for these other people that they're willing to pay $1 million. Obviously, the company's worth something.
Yeah, right? Definitely.
Especially in this economy, why would you put $1 million into something that sucks? You put money into something that's guaranteed, and that's
the safe
one
bet
that's going to win. So so his company's they're giving him $1 million to buy more of his company. So that means it's one of the good bets. So this guy's a good bet. And so, we're signing the doc. I just got the documents today to do the first portion, and we'll sign it, and hopefully we get the money. And then, I can basically take care of that. And then I told him about the VC, number one guy. He's like, wow, that's really look good. And I said, are you willing to take a second look? Because let's take baby steps at a time. Let me help you here. And I could take another look, that's settled. So I'm warming him back up again. So I'm trying to get back him. So basically the idea is I can go and get all three. And there's some other ones. I pitched another one last night, a small angel group, and it seemed positive. Because what happened is all those all those reasons to say no, we took away. Okay. One of the biggest ones was, are you guys going to have customers? Are you going to do equipment sales and maintain this and blah, blah, blah? And I said no.
Okay,
it was
equipment
a very
sales?
adamant no. Because we want to do everything ourselves, and we cut that out of the equation, right?
Okay, but I mean, like the customers, they would have to come to you, though. I mean, like the customers, you can have.
The problem with customers is you have to do expenses for marketing, sales. You have to wait for them to make a decision. And you don't know how many customers there are. Blah 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 blah. There's a lot of issues. So we took those issues and took them away. And then we said, hey, we're going to do it ourselves. But then we have to say, well, the technical issues increase. If you do it yourselves, the technical issues increase. You have to do more. And because the technical issues increase, it was fair that the investor said, hey, I don't believe you can do the technical part with the team that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we had to prove ourselves. We took the risk away from marketing, from the customers, to basically put it on us because we can do the whole thing. Are you sure you can handle it? Are you sure you can actually handle the whole thing? And then we said, yes, we can. And I don't believe you. And they're like, well, let me prove it. And then we're proving it.
Okay. Yeah. As long as everything gets backed up. I mean, listen, I said I was going to do it and I'm doing it. So.
But if you can handle the whole thing, then holy crap,
Yeah.
then well, I'm just saying no. I'm saying, holy crap! As an investor, you're like, wow, that's a better idea.
Okay.
It's a better idea because I invest in these guys. They handle the whole thing, and
You're
all they need
autonomous.
to do is buy the material, and they handle the whole thing, and they're done.
Yeah.
You see how clean that is? That's one question. One question is, do you handle your own thing or do you have customers? Before we would say, hey, we can do both, maybe, or one, the customers, and then we'll do our own thing later.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to be customers and our own thing, or both. Now the answer is, like, oh, no, we're going to do our own thing. And even though we have some consulting projects and customers, that's just to get us to the promised land. And then the conversation shifts to the direction that you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the conversation before, for the people who said no early on in the process, they were stuck here with customer questions.
Yeah, which we're not.
So I said, how do you get them unstuck? I said, I can't get them unstuck because there's no good answer. Well, how do we get rid of that? Well, let's just get rid of customers. Right? So it's so simple. Right? It's like, I can't answer anything but customer questions. They're really good questions. I can't answer them. They have legitimate. So you know what? The legitimate questions are the VCs giving you value. Or it's like your mom asking you, hey, did you do your homework? Did you do this? And it's like, you know what, mom, get off my case. But you know what? Maybe your mom's right. Maybe you should listen, right?
Yeah, you pay attention
be a
to
little
that's
humble.
important
Say,
stuff.
maybe they're right.
Yeah, well, they're focusing on things that are important, though. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Right.
they don't care about a bunch of other stuff. Like, how are you going to get this? And there's a path to that.
So last night, when we had the pitch, I said clearly, and we had presentations said clearly, look, there are two opportunities. This opportunity is way bigger, but we're going to have to do our own thing. And here's the plan to do our own thing. And here's proof that we've done our own thing successfully. And here's more of our own thing that we want to do. And we're almost there. And so the system that will run 24 hours a day and process X pounds and not get stuck and can make money will be able to create a video and show it to you. Now, at that point, they're like, okay, these guys predicted something. They predicted that they would do this thing. And in the end, they did it. That's really hard to find in life.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like, there's not that many people in my life who, like, personally or professionally can actually have that happen consistently. And that's called faith and trust that you earn if you're that type of person.
Through time.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so, same thing with you, Roberto, right? And Nick and the team from Mass Realty, right? If you guys have this opportunity in front of you, you have to be accountable. Right? I'm not part of it anymore. I'm just guiding you guys. And if you guys want to do this, you also have to do the same things I'm doing here, which is like, okay, this is the milestone we have to do, hit that milestone, and then hit this milestone, and then be accountable. And no matter what happens, earn that trust, earn that faith, because you promised something and you delivered on it. That you promised and you didn't under-deliver, right? Over-promise, under-deliver.
Yep.
Remember that's what happened earlier with the people that I dealt with on this show, like, my employees, my staff. I make mistakes too. I trusted them, but they over-promised and under-delivered. Pretty basic. Right? You trusted your girlfriend. She promised she wouldn't cheat. She wouldn't do it again, ever again. But she did it again.
Oh, yeah.
That's an example in personal life, right? That didn't never happen to me, but if it did, I would be pretty pissed, right? But like that happens to people all the time. Like you have someone who says, I'm going to help you move on Tuesday, but then they cancel for some reason. It's probably legitimate, but they didn't help you move, and now you have to move by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to help them move when it's their turn? Probably not. Or maybe you do, and you're not going to feel so great about it.
Yeah, no, you feel like you're being used.
Right. So some people, right, they find that's something that's acceptable. For me, that's not acceptable. And I actually live my life with very few friends, very few associates. But the associates I have, they love me and I love them back. And I think that's how you win. I think that's the secret to my success.
Yeah, it is. Because I mean, like you're surrounded by people that are akin to all your own emotions and your own values. So they got your back, like you have theirs. Or you would have theirs if the situation arose.
Yeah. So basically, you can say I'm uncompromising in terms of people I interact with. You could say, he's hard ass, he doesn't like people, or he's a jerk, whatever it is. But the truth is,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't trust 99% of people, because when I live my life and I try to like everybody, and I do, I find that a lot of people, they let me down. And then I realize, you know what you need to do is, instead of blaming yourself for all the actions that you might have done, which I used to beat up myself and say, hey, what did I do wrong? And I realized at some point, sometimes it's not me, sometimes it is them.
Yeah, I mean, like, and then me personally, like, I'm more of a, like, I don't like wasting time and effort on random things, things or people. So once you see that this is not working, or like I get, like, I've seen you a bunch of times before. Like, you think you're special, but like there's always a pattern of the type of person that they just don't add any kind of value to your life in any aspect of it. So like, what's the point? And
Right.
some of us, like, we're not willing to waste the time to see if you're different or not.
Yeah. So same thing with my workers, right? So when my workers, I hire them, I was like, I'm going to give you this opportunity where you can be anything you want. I'm going to enable you to grow to VP if you want to be, or director, or just stay in your job but do really well. But promise me, don't lie to me. When you say something, you're actually going to do it. That's literally all I say.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I would say, I've already filtered the people. And most of the time, I'm right. I would say 20% of the people I hire let me down these days. Even after years and years of getting really good at filtering out those people who are full of shit.
Yeah.
It's really hard, man. I'm telling you, there are a lot of people out there, like, it's hard. But then I've gotten a lot harsher with some of the interview tactics.
Okay.
Not harsher, but like the barrier to enter my relationship with me is actually much higher now. So when you work for me, I'm going to give you a project, and if you do the project, then I can interact with you. But if you don't do the project well, then that's a good way to break up with someone, right? So in a personal relationship, for example, like, okay, if you do this on this date, let's talk about next steps. Okay? So when you do that with someone, they're like, huh, if I do this on that date, that I can probably do that. To a normal person who actually is capable, who cares about you, who wants to do the job, they'll do it in a week. The person who's full of shit will hem and haw, and literally this happened to me like recently. They'll say my laptop was broken. They'll say I had classes and I forgot I had a paper, and then all these excuses, but they didn't even give you the excuses until you prompted them. Hey, what happened? Oh yeah, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So had they said that preemptively, I would have believed it maybe.
Yeah, but
But if
now
I said,
you're
hey,
under
what's
the
going on with
gun,
this?
you're like,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, last week, blah blah blah, and then okay, now I know. And before, the old Phuc would be like, okay, give him another chance. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Me,
yeah.
I cut bait immediately. Cut bait immediately. Okay. Or I say, okay, I gave you this assignment, but I really want this job, boss. I really want this job. Please give me an opportunity. Actually, I'll give you an opportunity. I'm gonna give you this project, and then they say, you know what? I'm going on vacation next week, or I have finals. Can I do it afterwards? I'll be like, sure, that's fine, okay? But if someone actually says, hey, I'll take care of next week, even though I have finals and I'm going to go on vacation, I do it during finals and vacation, I'll be like, that one's hired right now. Like he's going to be a rock star, okay? And that's what happened to the person who's full-time for me. Like, he's kicking ass. I'm like, I want you to try you out. And he's like, yeah, I'm going on Christmas break, but I'm going to do it. I'll come back New Year's. I'll give you the assignment, finish. And I said, okay. And he did it.
Nice.
And now he's a rock star. He's kicking ass. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, in the end, it's not me, it's them. And so how do you figure out it's them? Well, it's not me, it's them. You should say that after 25 years of being a manager. Or whatever, or working, right? So being good at this. So it's probably you, actually. When you're younger, right? It's probably you, not your boss. But at this point, I'm like, it's probably them, not me. So how do I figure out who is compatible? Them meaning like they're not compatible with me. I'm not saying they're bad workers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they can't be.
This relationship isn't the one that's working. This particular
They
one.
may be a good cog in a machine, where the machine is on their ass saying, hey, you must do this by this date. You must deliver this. We'll have an app that follows you around, blah, blah, blah. And they're happy with having Mama Bear on their case, and they'll actually come out and do a really good job with Mama Bear. But I'm not a Mama Bear kind of guy. I say go there and do it. And if you don't do it, what's the problem? Why don't you let me know? Why didn't you
Yeah,
read the instructions? Oh,
exactly.
I don't
But
have any instructions.
you should have been looking at me, not going. I'm like, man.
Yeah, you shouldn't tell. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. No one gave me any directions. I didn't understand what to do. It's like, well, did you ask me? He's like, no. So you got lost
Then what the hell, man?
and
Yeah.
you didn't call me or you didn't tell me, well, and then that's it. And I'm like, okay. But then after you hire them, then you have 3-4 weeks of wrestling to try to get the best out of them. Maybe 4 or 5 months, depending how patient you are. And then ultimately ends up being a stressful thing for you and them. Now, that's one scenario that I used to do. Now, the scenario I do right now is, okay, I may lose 9 out of 10 people. I don't care. But I'm going to give you an assignment, and it's going to be pretty, like 1-2 days minimum.
Okay.
Maybe a week if it's something that interests. I may even pay you, right, just to try you out. But I'm going to pay you, something set, it's fixed. At the end of the project, once you accomplish it. Now, the people who fail, they don't even do the project successfully. I don't have to pay them. Or maybe I pay them a small amount, right? But the idea is it's something that like they shouldn't have an excuse not doing. And if they do, that means they really don't give a shit about the job. They're all full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
in the end,
it shows commitment.
I've got the whole team has gotten better because of this experience. And I've hired a lot better. And because of that, I think I'm going on vacation. I'm going on vacation on Saturday for the kids' vacation for a week to Florida. And think about what happened before, like last month. Like we had no money in the bank. We're about to run out. Right now, I have $1 million. I can help if I need to, but I don't think I need to. The investors, all 3 of them, are hot now. Right, one of them actually gave me money already. Indirectly, like with the buying of my shares, so that it did work out, and the other one had to do an official vote, vote with a jury and a team, and the official vote was positive, so yes, they're moving forward, and they have a second official vote, in March, end of March 20th.
Okay,
and that official vote, unless something bad happens, should be hopefully positive, and then we get, a huge VC. That's going to help us. And then we also have a team that kicks ass, a team that's also gone through hell together through the last year, where this podcast started. Hey, bragging, we're going to get funding very soon. That was a year ago, right? And they lasted. Crazy. We lost some people along the way.
Things change, huh?
And so now, we have a strong band. Same thing with you and me, right? So mm-hmm. now everything's going back to what is supposed to happen last year. You were supposed to get the $1 million last year and then raise money. And then now now this is actually happening the right way, but this is the second try at it. Okay, but not only is it the second try, but it's the final try because I believe this is it. We have a product that works really well. It can actually run 24 hours a day. Right, we're that close. Like we're like a couple weeks away from that. It can actually, we know where to buy the materials. We know where to sell the materials. We know we're going to make a lot of money doing that. We have a staff that's been through hell together, and now they're a band of brothers, and basically together for the next X years, but they trust each other. They look each other in the eye and they say, you lasted through the worst training for entrepreneurs where we all were supposed to get funding, but we didn't. Some payrolls were missed, some payrolls were delayed, and not missed, but we delayed them, and then like 1 month, sometimes we delayed like 1 or 2 payrolls. And now we're caught up, and then some people left, some people stayed, most of them stayed. Some people we had clashes, some people we hired and it didn't work out. Some people we hired, it did work out, but ultimately, the movie is about to end in terms of this phase, like part 1. And then once we get the money, then it becomes even a different kind of movie, but a more fun movie, where now you can actually build things and start making money. Start counting the money. Start spending the money. How would you spend the money? Where would you spend the money? Who are you going to spend the money on? Who are the staff members who are going to shine? So right now, I'm going back to my formula, which is I hire young people, I enable them, and I train them. And that's my best skill. And that should be the best skill of everyone who is a CEO or a co-founder or something like that. To hire smart people, but not just use them for the skills they have, but to upgrade their skills. And to make them better, and then to increase the chances of being a VP. Because to be a VP, now you have a general in your army. And you need to have hundreds of generals, thousands of generals to take over the world. If you want to be like Genghis Khan, which I want to be, or whatever, Bruce Lee, Tesla, I want to be the entrepreneur who takes over the world, right? You have to have people who you trust, who you love, who love you back, who love the mission, who can be your generals. And you have to mentor your generals from day one. And everyone that you hire for the first 30 people, they all have to be VP quality. Not right now. Not right now.
At some point, yeah.
But in the next, not even some point, next year.
Okay.
The year after. That's the expectation. I'm serious.
Yeah,
the expectation is some young fool who believes in the mission, who believes in you, and can bring other young fools into your enterprise. And I have a cult, and I can take the cult and take over the world.
Soon.
But it's a good cult, good cult, guys. It's not bad. Well, you don't have to have sex with me, right? We're not going to kill each other in terms of like suicide. There's no like
everything's
whatever.
fine.
But I do believe that the aliens are coming, that the balloons are happening in the U.S. One of them is a balloon. The other three, I'm not so sure about. It could be a distraction to the real UFO story, but it is happening. The aliens are here. They've been living among us. They will reveal themselves through a program. This is probably part of that program. I'm very sure of it, guys. I'm adamant that this is going to happen this year sometime in terms of some signs. And you know about that, Roberto, right?
Yeah, I've been reading up on it a little bit.
I don't need to talk more about it. But I'm telling you, it's going to happen this year. This things are going to happen. But that's what we'll talk about that later. Thanks, guys. I'm going vacation for a week. Things are going well. Thanks for hanging in there.
See you guys next time. Bye.